Good morning, everybody. Welcome to January launch 2019. Feels a little weird to say 2019. It seems like the years just keep rolling by. But I'm really excited to be here with all of you guys this morning to hopefully share some great nuggets that you can take away and you can implement into your own business. So for me, 5.5 years ago, I found myself sitting in my sister-in-law's living room listening to a Melaleuca overview. And I'll be honest, I wasn't really excited to be sitting there. And at the end of the Melaleuca overview, I looked at Susie Meyer and Missy Markovich, who presented, and I said, I don't think this store's for me. I'm a minimalist, but you people seem to be really excited, so I'll set up my shopping account and we'll see what happens. So on the last day of February, my sister-in-law called me and said, you need to place an order. Otherwise, I would have got a backup order. And I said, I don't know what to get. What do you think? And she said, get a value pack. So I got a value pack and it came in and I fell in love with the Melaleuca brand. See, I had cracked and bleeding eczema and Melaleuca's products made a huge difference in my health. And more than anything, I just started taking a deeper look at what was going on in the consumer goods industry. Fast forward to May of that year, my husband looked at me and said, you need to go back to work full time. We can't make it on one income anymore. And there was just more going out than was coming in. And I just flat out told him, no, I will not go back to work. I used to paint movie sets in the film industry. I loved what I did, but I worked 60 to 80 hours a week for my income. And I just didn't want to put my kids in daycare and be the first ones to get dropped off and the last ones to be picked up and miss everything in their lives. So that month, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law called me and they said, there's a promotion going on that if you set up 8 shopping accounts, you get a guarantee of $1,000 with Melaleuca. And I thought, bingo, that's it. I'm gonna refer 8 friends and that's gonna keep me home for 2 more months because Graham said if I could make $500 a month, that would make a difference in our finances. And so I was told to get people in my living room. And I have friends that like me, I think, and I could get people in my living room, so I separated in groups. And I don't know if any of you do this, but I said, okay, I'm gonna invite old neighbors and new neighbors. And so I did something on a Tuesday and a Wednesday night, and they all came over. And after listening to Marketing Exec of the Year, Missy Markovich, and Susie Meyer, National Director 7, they all said no. Not one person out of those 10 set up their shopping accounts. And I went to bed that Wednesday night and I was devastated. I cried and cried and cried. And my husband gave me some tough love. He said, he doesn't say it this way, but I remember it being, suck it up, buttercup. Like, figure this out or you need to go back to work full time. So the next day, I made the decision that I was gonna figure out how to build a Melaleuca business and I was gonna make it work. So I pulled up my big girl pants and, wiped my tears aside, and we got to work. And I enrolled my best friend. I told her we were gonna be millionaire mamas, and she asked me what we were doing. I said, I have no clue what we're doing, but we're gonna do it together, and it's gonna be amazing. I think that ignorance on fire a little bit is great. And we quickly ran. And in 90 days, I got to Director 3. And then I slowly crawled to Director 4. And I slowly crawled to Director 5. And after 1 year of building my Melaleuca business, I was a Director 5. And my husband said to me, are you sure this is worth it? You're working hard, and you're not really making a whole lot of money for your efforts. And I assured him, I said, Susie told me that if I do this, that it'll work, and I just have to trust the process. And at that same time, convention was creeping up. And so she had asked me, are you gonna go to convention? And I said, no, we don't have any money. I can't afford to go to convention. Flying from Louisiana to Salt Lake City, it's a big plane ticket. And she said, you need to go to convention, it'll change your business. So I went home and I had that conversation with Graham and I said, I need to go to convention. Susie says I need to go and I'm coachable. So he said, we'll figure it out if this is what you think is best. And so I stayed in a room with 3 other women that I didn't know. I ate bars and shakes the whole time, and we did it on a budget. And she was right. Convention changed everything for me. I realized that I never really set goals for myself. I undervalued what we did for a living, and I prejudged like crazy. You know, I learned after leaving there that if you have lungs and eyeballs, you can benefit from Melaleuca's business, because everyone brushes their teeth, does laundry, and puts on deodorant. And most people will tell you all their personal ailments. You know, you could look at me back then and see that I had cracked and bleeding eczema. You could see what could help me from a product side of things. But we're really good at masking what could help us financially. You know, I would have prejudged me 5 years ago. I wouldn't have approached me. We drive nice cars, we have a nice home, my husband has a great job, he's an amazing provider, and our kids are super involved in activities and they're healthy. But what most people don't see is what was happening behind the scenes, because more money was going out every single month than coming in. So we quickly accumulated $60,000 worth of line of credit debt from me being at home for 4 years. But I never talked about that, never told anybody that, because we're really good at hiding and masking our financial troubles. But the reality is, people need the business as much as they need the products and the store. So I set big goals while I was there. I was asked, when are you going to reach senior director? And I'll be honest, up until that point, I had never actually put a date on it or thought about it. And I said, I'm going to reach it by August 31st. And they all looked at me. It was in May, and I was a director 5. It took me a year to get to D5. And I said, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to take these tools that I've learned here, and I'm going to implement them into my business. And I think that's key. You know, we can hear a lot of information, but if we don't take it and implement it, then nothing changes. So I went home and I got intentional. And I found my posture, my confidence, because I was so nervous and worried what people would think about me. And I didn't want to be the crazy Mary Kay lady running around telling everybody about stuff, you know, that I never talked to people about the business. But then I started looking at Melaleuca in a different light. And I realized that what we do is noble and it's honorable and we help people. And I do the same thing as any of you that are sitting in the audience that work in corporate America that have a sales job. I just wasn't looking at it like that. So my husband works in the pharmaceutical sales industry, and I realized that what him and I do is the exact same thing. But prior to that moment, I put him way up here, and I put me down here. So I had a mindset shift. Maybe even like that. And I started doing this analogy for what we do. I started figuring out what it was that I did. So my husband works in the pharmaceutical sales industry. He works from his car and his house, and his home-based office is in San Diego. His car is paid for by his company, but it doesn't say Dermira across the back of it. And he educates doctors on why they want to use his medication versus a competitor. He doesn't physically sell them anything. And his bonus structure is driven by the growth that he brings to the company, as well as there's a team component in there. Okay, so what I do for a living is I work from my house and my car. My home-based office is in Idaho Falls, Idaho, and I educate consumers on why they would want to shop with Melaleuca versus products made by Procter & Gamble, Colgate-Palmolive, Johnson & Johnson. I don't physically sell anybody anything. My car is paid for by Melaleuca, but it doesn't say Melaleuca anywhere across the back of it. And my bonus structure is driven by the growth that I bring to the company, as well as there's a team component. Can any of you tell me if what we do for a living is different? There's one key little factor. He's capped by what somebody in corporate America tells him his worth is. If I want to work harder in my Melaleuca business, I can make more of an income. That's a blessing, and it's a curse sometimes too. So you guys, figure out, what do you do for a living? You need to be able to answer that question when somebody asks you and not have verbal diarrhea and be the crazy Melaleuca people. Don't run around talking about Melaleuca products to everybody and say, oh my gosh, you've got eczema, I've got this Renew lotion, let me squirt it on your hand, let me do this, help you. Don't do that, you guys. Don't be weird. I tell everybody on my team, don't be weird. If you're not weird, then nothing weird will happen. Show up as you and be yourself, but know what you do. So if you would have asked me during that first year of building my Melaleuca business what I did for a living, I would have told you that I was a stay-at-home mom. Not one time would I have said anything about Melaleuca, and that was a mistake. Now, if you were to ask me what I do for a living, I'd tell you to do education and advertising for an online wellness store. I love it. I'll have to tell you about it sometime. And flip it around. Figure out what feels comfortable for you to be able to say to others so that you can have that confidence and that posture moving forward. One of the other things that I took away from convention is language. I realized that I wasn't asking the right questions and I wasn't asking them often enough. I thought that by sitting down with the Melaleuca presentation and going over the details, that people would automatically say, pick me, I wanna be your business partner, I wanna do this with you, I'm ready to invest 20 hours plus of my time to build a Melaleuca business with you. You guys, in what world does that happen? I can tell you that I have 17 active directors. 2 said yes to taking a look at the business right away. Every other person came from me asking the question, can we have coffee and conversation? I don't expect for you to be all in after an hour listening to me to build a business with me. You're gonna love the store and we're gonna get your account set up, but can we just have coffee and take a deeper look on how or what this could do for you and for your family? And I can tell you guys that if you ask that question, there are very few people that are gonna tell you no. Now, not all of them are gonna go on to build a Melaleuca business, but they're gonna listen. They're gonna give you their time. Because I guarantee when you're sitting with them, this is what they're thinking. That's amazing. I would love to have that kind of income. I would love to have that time freedom, but that can't work for me. She doesn't know my life. I'm busy, I have a full-time job, I've got 4 kids. We're overextended already, that can't work for me. So people talk themselves out of it as they're listening to you. So it's your job to ask that next question. What about accountability? How does accountability play a role into this business? You know, this is a very solitude business if you let it be, and the first person that you quit on is yourself. So you need to be accountable to others when you're building a Melaleuca business. And this Partner Up Wellness Challenge is the perfect opportunity for you to be able to hold yourself accountable, not just to yourself, but to those around you. A year ago, Corinne Cochran called me and she said, I'm ready to re-engage in my business. For the 6 months leading up to this, she had to take some personal time. And this happens every now and then, and that's the beauty of when you build a strong Melaleuca business, your business is there when you're ready to pick it back up. And in January, she made that decision. And she called me and she said, I'm gonna enroll 2 shoppers this month and I'm gonna commit to this Partner Up Wellness Challenge. And I gave her some tough love. And I said to her, Cor, 2 shoppers isn't gonna do anything for your business. We have a saying in Melaleuca, 2 to 4 to maintain, 4 to 6 to grow, 6 to 8 to explode. I said, what you're telling me is that you want explosive growth. And that means you're gonna need to enroll 8 shoppers. She said, I can't do that. I can't enroll 8 shoppers. I've never enrolled 8 shoppers. I can't. The word I can't kept coming out of her mouth. And I said, Cor, I love you. And if you wanna do this, that's what this is gonna take. So she hung up the phone with me and I don't think she was really happy with me. Actually, I know she wasn't really happy with me. And she called me back. She said, you're right. I need to do this. I need to do this for my family, but I need to do this for other families too. And I'm committed. And she didn't team up with me. I wasn't her partner. Somebody else was her partner. Sometimes we need outside accountability from our own organization, our own circle of influence, to really hold us accountable to what we say we're gonna do. And I'm happy to report that because of the Partner Up Wellness Challenge, Corey enrolled 30 new shoppers, developed 6 new directors, and she reached the status of executive director. Awesome. You know, she'll be the first person to tell you guys it's not about her. She had a mindset shift. And these women are all here because of her, because of one decision that she made to change her life. Each and every one of you guys in this room have that power. It's, are you brave enough to do it? Are you brave enough to put others before yourself? To stop thinking about yourself when you're picking up the phone and start thinking about how this could change somebody else's life. This past year, I had the pleasure, I don't know if that's the right word, but I got to hike the Grand Canyon. And a year ago, my girlfriend Blair called me. She said, do you want to do R to R to R, which is rim to rim to rim. So you go from the south to the north, then back from the north to the south. And I said, sure, sign me up. I'm in, whatever, sounds good. And I didn't know what I was saying yes to, but I trusted her. And about a month prior to us going on this hike, we were joined with the other women that were showing each other what we were doing for our daily activity to prepare for this journey. And I quickly realized that I was very unprepared. They had been training for an entire year. They're marathon runners, ultra marathon runners, and I'd been just walking extra miles around my neighborhood making Melaleuca phone calls. That was it. So I got a little accountable, and I started going to run stadiums as much as I could, as often as I could. And I started adding more miles onto my walks. And when we got to the Grand Canyon, I had a, oh my gosh, moment. Because I looked out into the canyon and they showed us where we were gonna walk. And I didn't know if I could do it. And Debbie, who's on screen in the green shirt, she was our expert. She's done this 13 times. And 2 of those times, she did it there and back in one day. 26 hours the first time, 20 hours the second time, 50 miles of hiking through the canyon. And she said, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna make it. We're gonna do it together. And prior to coming, she told us exactly what to buy. And she gave us suggestions, as she said, but we bought exactly what she told us to buy. The pack, the poles, we all had matching. We made sure we got different colors. And she was like, you guys really listened. I'm like, I'm coachable. I will do what you tell me to do. I trust you. And as we started walking and we set out on this journey, she paced us. She had done this 13 times before. She knew when to move faster. At one point I was running. I have short legs and I had to run to keep up, but she was pacing us because she had certain places she wanted to get to every step of the way. And when she told us to drink, I had sustained sport and aminos in my bladder and I drank, whether I was thirsty or not. And when she told us to eat a bar, I ate an Access bar about every 2 hours. And I did what she told me to because she knew the path. And on the second half of that journey, the last 14 miles, the water was out on the north rim. And the pipes were broken, and we knew that going into it. So we loaded up, our packs were pretty heavy, our bladders were full at the halfway part, but we were prepared if we needed to filter water in the creek. Debbie brought the filter with her. I did not bring the filter. And those last 2 hours hiking up were hard. It was in sand, and I don't know if any of you have ever done this before, but it was painful. My feet hurt, my body hurt, and my mind just kept telling me, don't stop. If you stop, it's gonna be harder than if you don't. And I kept watching Jana's feet in front of me, slowly moving, and I just kept keeping the same pace as her. You know, I think about this with our Melaleuca business a lot. Is someone pacing you We have a lovely program called Pace Setter. That's a pretty good pace, right? Has somebody already done this? Is somebody giving you the tips and the tools on how to move your business forward? And are you being held accountable to them? That next day, we had a day of rest. I don't know about you guys, but to me, 10 miles doesn't feel like a day of rest, but that was our day of rest. We hiked 10 more miles around the North Rim, keep the lactic acid moving out of our muscles and keep us feeling good. And then we had to do it all over again. And this time it was a little bit different because we already knew what we were up against, right? And there was a little bit more sense of peace, but also, can I do it all over again? And I think in Melaleuca, we think about that a lot. All right, I've reached Director 3. Now I have to get to D4, and I've got to do D3 all over again. Can I do it? The answer is yes. Cindy, one of the women in this picture, wanted to quit after the first go-round. She said, I don't know if I can do this. Her feet were blistered, and she didn't know if she could make that journey back. 12 more hours, 25 more miles, elevation switching from 8,800 down to 2,000, back up to 7,700. And we said, you can do it, and we're going to do it together. We're going to do this as a team. And that's what we did. And as we were coming up the last hour, Blair was struggling. And she said, don't stop, just keep going. And I said, nope, we're doing this as a team. We're crossing this finish line together. So every time she stopped, I'd stop with her. And it was hard to make myself move again, but she needed that extra support. And that picture up there by the Bright Angel sign is when we finished. Those smiles are joyful smiles because we didn't have to do it anymore. But accountability starts with you. Then it starts with the team. If I was on this journey by myself, I don't know if I would have done it. It might have taken me 19 hours, 20 hours. Who knows if I would have made it. I might have ended up camping halfway in the bottom of the Grand Canyon. But they pushed me, they encouraged me, and we were there to support one another. And this Partner Up Wellness Challenge is designed to do that for you, to push you, to hold you accountable to somebody besides yourself so that you don't quit when it gets hard. Because I guarantee you, it's gonna get hard at some point in time in your Melaleuca business. You're not going to feel like picking up the phone. And that's when you need to remember why you started this in the first place. I go back to my why all the time. You know, when I first started building my Melaleuca business, it wasn't about me. I didn't even know what I was doing. It was about these kids in this picture who needed their mom, but we needed an income. It was about not missing out on the magical moments, about being present. You know, there's some sacrifice that comes along with being present, but it's worth it, you guys. That picture up there with my parents and 5 grandchildren, because of Melaleuca, my kids get to know their grandparents. They get quality time with them. We live in Louisiana, they live in Vancouver, Canada. We don't have borders because of Melaleuca. So when you're scared and you're nervous and you're making this about you, think about people like me. Think about people like Corey. Think about the people that need this business to better their families, and do the work. And if you do the work and you stop thinking, this can't happen for me, this can't be my life, this only happens for people like them. When you flip that around and you start to think, why not me? Why not now? Is it worth it? Yes. I would do the hard work over and over and over again if it meant that I get to have the life that I have today, that my kids get to have the mom that's present at school, that's there to put them on the bus and pick them up after school every single day. Ask yourself, what does your default future look like? If you don't change something today, you're gonna be singing the same song next January. And I love the Partner Up Wellness Challenge because it's gonna get your gears in motion. But it's not just about 90 days, you guys. It took Corey an entire year to turn her business around. So my question for all of you is, don't be all in for a month, for 2 months. Be all in for a year. You can change your life and the people that you love in 1 year. And ask yourself, why not me? Why not now? This is my time to do the work, to have the results, and to have the life that other people have at Melaleuca. Take the challenge. 1 year of sacrifice, you'll never regret it. Thank you so much.
Dear